Hello everyone, and welcome to my guide on calculating ability damage. In this guide, I will cover the formula for calculating ability damage, as well as how much damage your abilities will end up doing. In this guide, you'll need to know three things. You'll first need to know the appropriate combat skill level. If you're using melee, you need to know your strength level. If you're using mage, you need to know your magic level. And if you're using ranged, you need to know your ranged level. You also need to know the tier of your weapon. If you're using melee, you need to know just the tier of your weapon. However, if you're using magic, you'll need to find out the max scaling level or the combat spell you're using with magic, and if that is lower than the tier of your magic weapon, then you'll need to calculate using your max scaling level of your spell. If you're using ranged and the level of your ammunition is lower than the tier of your ranged weapon, then you should calculate using the level of your ammunition. Finally, you need to calculate your total strength bonus if you're using melee, your total ranged bonus if you're using ranged, and your total magic bonus if you're using magic. Here is the formula for calculating ability damage. To calculate your two-handed damage, you add 3.75 times your combat skill level, plus 14.4 times the tier of your weapon, plus 1.5 times your style bonus. For dual wield, you combine both your main hand damage to your offhand damage. For your main hand damage, you add 2.5 times your combat skill level, plus 9.6 times the tier of your weapon, plus your style bonus. For your offhand damage, you add 1.25 times your combat skill level, plus 4.8 times the tier of your weapon, plus half of your style bonus. If you're using just a main hand weapon or a main hand weapon plus shield, you calculate just the damage that the main hand weapon would use. It's important that when you calculate this formula, you round all the numbers down after performing the multiplying step. Due to this, you should not put this formula into a calculator. When using the melee style, you use your strength level as the combat skill level. You just use the tier of your weapon, there is no other ammunition or spell to worry about. And you use your strength bonus as your style bonus. Otherwise, the formula will stay the same. If you're using ranged, you use your ranged level as your combat skill level, and if the tier of your ammunition is lower than the tier of your weapon, you'll calculate using the tier of your ammunition instead, and you use your ranged bonus total as your ranged bonus. To calculate magic damage, you use your magic level as your combat skill level. You use the tier of your magic weapon unless the maximum scaling level of the spell you are using is lower than the tier of the weapon, in which case you use the spell, and then your magic bonus total. For example, say I had 99 ranged, an eldritch crossbow as a weapon, ruby back criminal bolts as ammunition, and the Reaper crew bonus. In this example, because we're using the eldritch crossbow, we're going to use the two-handed ranged formula. Our ranged level would be 99, the weapon tier is 92, the ammunition tier is 99, and our ranged bonus is 12. Because the weapon tier is lower than the tier of the ammunition, we're going to calculate using the tier of the weapon. Going through the formula, our ability damage will end up being 1713. However, our actual damage is 1712. The calculation should always get you within 1 damage of your actual ability damage. Now we're going to calculate how much damage abilities actually do. All abilities do a certain percentage of your ability damage. Slice, for example, deals between 30% and 120% of ability damage. Sacrifice deals up to 100% ability damage, and Tuska's Wrath deals up to 110% ability damage. Now, the majority of abilities do not actually have a stated minimum damage. For these abilities, they have a minimum damage of 20% of the maximum damage they can deal. For example, Sacrifice, which has a 100% maximum damage, actually has a minimum ability damage of 20%. That means that Sacrifice deals between 20% and 100% damage every hit. Dazing Shot, in the same way, has 157% maximum damage, so it actually has a minimum damage of 31.4%. And every hit is going to hit somewhere between those two. Say we had an ability damage of 1712. With Sacrifice, that would mean that our minimum hit is 342, and our maximum hit is 1712. For Fragmentation Shot, which is a damage over time ability, we would have a minimum hit of 1712 and a maximum hit of 3218. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to this channel. I stream regularly on Twitch, link in the description below.